YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage, the beard rip stunty here. I guess that's my nickname for this week because I'm like all dwarf focused. Wanted to show you all a couple replays. Some that were pretty interesting. These replays were sent to me by the YouTube user. You all see him there. I think it's Legiro. He makes a lot of comments in my videos, especially in the test videos. He's always got like really good information in the comments, and I love the comments he puts. Even if he doesn't agree with me, I love reading his comments because he's usually like extremely thoughtful and you know, trying to think through it. It's really quite interesting. So he sent me these, and I'm guessing he played this against a friend because he had 3 replays in total that he sent in, and wanted to kind of look through these because basically what he did was he tried to basically he tried to have the dwarf player set up some anti-vampire armies, and he played as the vampires. And what this is meant to show is maybe someone who takes a different play style than me and a different mindset with the dwarfs, playing against someone who also feels fairly confident with the vampires. And you know what? We should probably just go ahead and watch all 3 of these, and we'll talk about them. So over the next few days, I'll be showing one of these, and then I'm going to be also showing some of my live battles. Now, my live battles are against randoms. This is against someone that he knows probably because he's doing this, so you're going to see probably more par-on-par skill level type play in these than you will in mine, which are going to be more like random ladder battles. And this one, Legiro's said that he picked a army of his choosing for the vampires. So he's got 4 Fellbats, he's got 4 Horrors, and he's got a White King here, the Mortis Engine, looks like 1 Cairn Wraith, Skeleton Warriors mixed with Graveguard, and then his leader here is the Strigoi Ghoul King. I love the Ghoul King, man. He's just a nasty looking unit. Really cool general. Would be a fun one to play with in campaign too. So the dwarf has brought 2 gyrocopters with brimstone guns. Now I neglected to do this in my dwarf army, and I think I talked a little bit in my video. Like, of course, you know, I was obviously ranting about how I don't like the dwarfs being as weak as they are. But I think I mentioned in there that I probably should have traded the flame cannon for something more useful, and one of those things definitely would have been the gyrocopters. And there was some conversation in the chat about whether or not bats were an easy counter to gyrocopters. Well, it depends. Bats are very good against gyrocopters in melee, but there's a way to fend them off, and you're going to see the dwarf player using that method here, which is you keep your gyrocopters within the arc of fire of your quarrelers. So basically he's got like a dead zone out here where he can keep the bats away from, because the bats die extremely fast to the quarrelers, and this provides 2 things. The vampire player is not going to want to ignore the gyrocopters because they have bombs, and they're also a bonus versus large, which is dangerous to the Mortis Engine. But if the bats aren't focused on the quarrelers, it can get bad. But like I said, I still feel like the vampires have tools to potentially deal with this. Here, the bats are going to go ahead and swamp the gyrocopters. The Mortis Engine is getting wrecked between a combination of the cannon, the gyrocopters, and the quarrelers. You can see the dwarf here has just gone like full noob circle, and that's probably a smart decision. What else can you do? I mean, you don't want to spread out versus the vampires. So here comes the bats coming in to try and tie down the quarrelers so that the melee can get underway here. The Mortis Engine's within range. It's going to start putting damage down. The Skeleton Warriors, Crypt Horrors, Graveguard, all coming in now. And there's no cavalry here from Legiro. He didn't play with it. He said that this was an army that's more of his choosing, so he wouldn't have chose apparently the black lances and stuff. Instead, he's got extra horrors and Cairn Wraiths, it looks like. And I want to say that he may have even raised a unit of Crypt Horrors too, if I can see enough in this fight. So he had let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's now 5 Crypt Horrors. So he raised a unit of Crypt Horrors, most likely behind enemy lines, which I like that tool. If I'm playing as the vampires, I like that tool. I find it to be quite useful. And you can see here that the dwarf defensive position is now pretty well overrun. He does have his gyrocopters free. The gyrocopters can move in here and do some bombing if they can get into a good position. Takes a little bit of micro, but they can do it. You'll see the dwarf players also playing with 2 runesmiths. This is very different than you've ever seen me do before too. This makes sense because these guys have an aura, It's not a huge aura. They can buff other units. So by having one on each side of the army, they can buff other units, but also they can use their abilities to buff both sides of the combat for the dwarfs. So that's why you're going to see the dwarf player trying that here. Some of the quarrelers got free here. This could be dangerous for the vampires. You can see the vampires taking a lot of damage. They're using their invocation in the heck, and the gyrocopter with brimstone guns is probably going to be targeting the mortis engine, because the mortis engine is going to be dishing consistent damage out to all the units here. Thorgrim also being used for the dwarves because he adds extra melee attack and leadership, as well as the runesmith. So basically the dwarf player here, I do like his pick in the sense that he's got a ton of buffs to his men. The Cairn Wraiths here are going to be a nice anti-armor tool. They're also a little bit quick, and they manage to get into these quarrelers. So the dwarfs are putting up a sturdy fight, but the vampires are kind of, it looks to me at least, to be slowly overrunning the dwarfs, but we'll see. Check out Thorgrim up close. Thorgrim doesn't have healing potions, which is an obvious major downside for him in the current state of the game, but he does have magical damage, which can be quite handy versus the vampires, on top of the fact that he can buff his friendly units with quite a bit of extra damage and leadership. And then, if it works properly, there's a buff on Thorgrim that when he dies, that High King thing will continue buffing your men. Some people choose to take it, some people don't. It seems like it's kind of glitched. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's kind of a back and forth thing. You can see that the vampire's using the invocation in the heck, though stuff like this Cairn Wraith has already used all of its regen points, though some of the other units within the area have not, but like this Crypt Horror has. So, I mean, you can see the dwarfs lasting long enough to run out some of the regen effect on some of the vampire units. The Mortis engine has been destroyed by the dwarfs, so that's a victory. 55 kills from the gyrocopters. They moved in and dropped bombs, I believe, when I wasn't looking. So they're doing a significant amount of damage. Thorgrim is in a little bit of trouble. The runesmiths are in a bit of trouble. If those runesmiths start to drop, it's going to be pretty rough for the dwarfs, but, I mean, there's quite a few dwarf units left. Limited ammo left, but still, the gyrocopters are going to be able to get some work done here. Could potentially help wipe out Crypt Horrors, the Ghoul King, the White King. Ghoul King is in really good shape, though. He's doing real well. These quarrelers have regrouped, though, and this could potentially become a danger. So let's see what happens here. They're going to start firing in. Looks like they're targeting this Crypt Horror unit over here. It's a good choice. It's kind of singled out. It's kind of weak. Try and finish it off. Dwarfs putting up a very sturdy fight here. If Thorgrim goes down, though, could get ugly, but there are very few vampires left, and the balance of power is starting to tilt. Let's see what happens when Thorgrim drops. There he goes. Thorgrim's down. The gyrocopters, I think, have used their bombs, and they're almost out of ammo. And the Ghoul King's going to get to the quarrelers here, so that's bad for the quarrelers. So this is probably going to turn around for the oh, the balance of power. Sorry, I was wrong earlier. The vampires. It was already in their favor. So it was a close fight. It was obviously much closer than the performance that I put up. It was against a slightly different vampire army. But, you know, just I want to give you what it looks like from someone else's point of view. Someone who's not me, who doesn't think like me, because I presented to you my opinion. And my opinion is that the dwarfs definitely need some help. In this case, the vampires won, but the dwarf player put out a better showing here, and I think a better army pick. This was a much closer battle for the vampires. Now, you might be saying, well, Air, that wasn't the same army that you faced with the vampires. They had cavalry. That makes it more dangerous. So, they do have cavalry, and I have 2 more replays from Legiro. I'll be showing you one each day for the next little while, like I said, mixed in with some of my own. And I want you to see they did recreate the army that I faced exactly. One on the map where I faced it, and one on a different map. And I want you to see both of those battles too, so that, you know, again, you can look at this and it may help impact your opinion rather than just what I told you. So appreciate Legiro sending this. I'm sure there'll be lots more fun comments on this one. If y'all want to talk about the vampires or the dwarfs or whatever it is, you know, mainly I'm doing this to drive a conversation around the dwarfs. If I'm just misunderstanding them, which some people think I am, then great. I want to learn more. I want to learn how to use these guys because I want them to be good. They're really good in campaign. I feel really good about where the dwarfs are at in campaign. No issues with them there. It's the multiplayer where I feel like they struggle. So in case anybody misunderstands that. But yeah, so appreciate them sending that in. I'll be back tomorrow to show you more. Appreciate MSI sponsoring this build that I'm recording on. And I appreciate you coming back to view the videos and the conversation that you'll have, like I said, regardless of whether you agree with me. And if you disagree with me and you're doing so in a logical or polite way, that's great. That's fine. I may come back and disagree with you further in the comments. I'm not taking any of it personal. You all don't take it personal. I like the discussion because I've gotten proved wrong a lot in a lot of my videos. And I have this thought process. And again, I'm feeling like I just don't think the dwarfs are there, and if people can prove me wrong and I can learn things about them and you can in turn learn things about them, then that's great. If we're right, then maybe we can come up with the right things on how to impact changes to the dwarfs. And again, I will try to use some of my small influence with Creative Assembly to nudge them in that direction. I can't promise anything, but that's what I would do. But before I try and nudge them in any direction, I want to make sure I feel good about what I would be trying to tell them rather than trying to push changes that may or may not be good for the game. Hope this makes sense. Like I said, appreciate you all. Hope you're having a good day. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.